you were finally able to make peace with this whole situation, and you, like you said earlier, you had that conversation with God where you said, where He said, the reason that happened to you was because you had given up on yourself.
Yeah.
So now no longer can you play that blame game.
No.
And that allowed you to kind of transcend to that next level.
Absolutely. Take responsible. Zoroaster, the whole philosophy of Zoroaster is the world is relying on you to perfect yourself. The world is relying on you to bring yourself to balance, to bring yourself to redress, to bring yourself to that center point. It's relying on you. It's not relying on me to tell you how to live your life. It's not relying on me to point at that guy over there and say, you're too violent, you're too greedy. It's relying on me to get my own shit right. It's relying on me to find balance. It's relying on me to find physical, physiological, sociological, metaphysical homeostasis, balance, center line. It's relying on me. And if I get myself right, the world will pretty much look after itself. So what people tend to do, and I understand it because I've done it, is they go out and they try and fix everybody else. But we've got to get ourselves right. It's no good trying to change the world if we can't wipe our own arse. You know, it's no good trying to take on like Al-Qaeda if you can't settle an argument in your own front room. You know, it's no good trying to take on these forces if you can't even control your own waistline. We've got to get mastery over it. If this magic is real, which we know it is, if it's real, if it works, then we've got to prove it to ourselves and to other people by doing it on this physical body. And we've got to show the proof of that in the way we live. And not just about the fact that maybe I produce a lot of books or do a lot of talks, but the fact that my raison d'etre is to be kind. My raison d'etre is to serve people. Well, not even to serve people. My raison d'etre is to serve God. I couldn't articulate what that is, but I only know that I feel it. When we're talking now, I feel it coming through me. And when I talk to you, the message for me is that when you tell him what you know, I'm going to give you something else. You're both going to know something that you didn't know before. I don't really know what I know until I tell you, until we tell other people. So it's saying, you know, pass on what you can to the nations, pass it on to everybody, and be brave, because there are forces that will try to stop you, but you need those forces. Those forces, once you are certain and you are not going to pull back, those forces will join you and they will be converted. You know, like you look at Dorian, again, I know I keep pulling Dorian up, but what I loved about Dorian was that he brought his life to a singularity. His purpose in life was to develop this physique, and his whole life was based around that whole thing. Nothing else mattered. And he took himself from a tiny little gym in Birmingham to the biggest stage in the world. You know, I mean, they called him the Shadow. But because he would just, people would say, if you're not political, if you don't know the managers of the magazines, if you don't know this person, if you're not connected with that person, you'll never do it. He did none of that. He just turned up with a physique. And what I loved about him was that he dedicated his whole life just to doing that. Spiritually, that's what we've got to do. If we want to work metaphysically, if we want to find our own geometric point, our own singularity, our own point of, our only point of reference, we have to dedicate our whole life to it. We have to get rid of everything that isn't that and just concentrate on that. So Dorian has remained an inspiration to me, because when he did that, when he did that, I looked at that and thought, that's what I need to do spiritually. Yeah. I've got another friend who's a power lifter, and he's held the world title, and I watched him lifting the most astounding weights. And I said to him, what you've got there when you lift that weight, that solidness, that steadiness, you know, that power, that's what I want to be inside. I'm not sure he understood what I meant, but I'm looking for that inside. And that is what the Buddhists would call the still center. Scientists would call it singularity, or the quantum vacuum. It's when we go into the nothingness. When you find that place, when you find that solid place, you are, it's not that you're the most powerful person in the world, that you become everything. So object and subject become one, you know. There's no longer separation between anything. And the job then is, like I said, my job now is not to try and get any more shit out of me, because it's not there. The last bit of it came out of that book, but it is to recognise that I'm going to tell an uncommon truth to the common man, and there will be forces that will try and stop me. And I have to recognise that, not let them trip me up, not take it personally, and be strong enough and call in my guidance so that I can consume that and create something beautiful with it.